Hey everyone, happy Monday night. It's Soundings with Sash. How are you all doing tonight? If you are with me in the comments, please say hi. Tell me where you're coming from. My name is Sandy Archer. I am a spiritual health coach and I would love to help you. And we have been doing a series, and this is part 4 of our relationship series. We all have been in relationships since the time we were born. So it's time for us to talk about it and discuss everything, and would love to have you chime in. Oh, hey, Ken, nice to have you on. I have a surprise guest today, and I'm so excited to have him on my show. And I've had him on before. He is a relationship coach, and let's add him in now. Hello.
Howdy!
Hello.
How are we?
Well, I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for having me on.
Great. Thanks for joining me tonight. So, in the last 3 episodes, I've had several different perspectives of relationships, kind of in the same theme and talking of, and hey, guess who? Look, who is that?
Yes, Mr.
Hi.
Mr. Marnie. How are we? Thanks, buddy.
Hi,
And
Monty.
Lady
Thanks for
Archer.
joining. Lady Archer. Love it. Love it. So thank you for joining. And Monty was on our show last week. I don't know if you caught that one.
I watched it all. Him and Jill were very good.
Yes. Yes. So anybody that's born is in a relationship, right? Like from the time you're born,
As soon
you're in
as you
different
enter the
relationships.
world, there's a relationship between you and your mother and any other siblings that are around you, parents.
Right.
Life is about relationships.
Life is about relationships. So why is it so important? Why do you think it is important for us to discuss it? And how is it, since we've all been in relationships since we're born, that we can be really bad at them?
When you were born, a lot of this that a lot of people don't talk about, unless you're talking to like psychologists and psychiatrists will mention this, but when you were born, they state that the manual of your life, if there was ever a manual for your life, it is written between the ages of the day you were born to the age of 7. And then between the ages of 7 and 13, I like to say 15, there's a reason why for that you then put it into practice. Now, have you ever been around someone who's got a newborn and they might be 6 months, they might be 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, and they'll do something or say something, and someone will go, well, what about them? Oh, he won't matter. She doesn't understand. You are born with nothing except for a little bit of genetics in there that
Uh
are
huh.
taken from your parents, but you are born with no knowledge. And between the ages of 0 and 7, why they say the manual of your life is written is because for the first 7 years, you are a sponge. You are absorbing everything. And you are absorbing more than what is said and done. You're absorbing moods. You're absorbing, like, for example, as an adult, have you ever walked into a room and something's gone on before you? You didn't know that something had gone on before you, but you've walked in and you've gone, okay, something's just happened. I've just walked in and there's a sense in the room, like a lot of tension.
Right.
That is something that as a newborn, you pick up on like that.
Right.
It
It's an
is,
energy. Right.
yeah. So not only do babies pick up on, words, yelling, screaming, arguments, happiness, sadness, whatever else, you can have a baby that lying there and you can go, and the baby will go, and stop because it is learning everything about you. So there's a lot of times, there's a lot of things that are built into us that we're not even aware of. And then we go out into the world, and why I say 15 is because usually we're 15-year-old, we think we know everything. We can move out of the house, we can go get a job, we can go
Right.
drive, we can do everything. And
Right.
then we find out reality outside of our home is
Yeah.
not what we thought it is. And then we either are surprised or shocked by it. So then
Right.
we're starting to readjust again, or go with what we've learnt in those, up to 15, and it doesn't work for us.
Right.
And there's so many outside influences, not just people. There's feelings, there's actions, there's hurt, there's love, there's care. There's so much. It's like, and when I talk about feelings, and again, not enough people talk about this. Is there a song, Sandy, that will come on the radio and it will take you back to a particular point of your teenage years, and you'll just go, oh, it might be a really like, oh, I remember this time, or I don't like that time, even though I think of it. You get that?
Absolutely.
Because it's not necessarily the lyrics, it's not necessarily the song, but it was where we were at the time.
Yes, you can actually re-experience that. Yes. Yes.
And some of those experiences are great, and some of those experiences remind us of, holy sheez, that wasn't a good time in my life. And these are moments in time, and they all build up to where we are. But if we don't understand what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right, we will just keep doing it.
Right.
It's like the definition of insanity by Albert Einstein. They say that you keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, and expecting a different
that's right.
Different, results.
Right.
It ain't gonna happen.
Right. Right. So yes, I agree with you that we get our relationship skills probably formed even by our parents, who kind of show us how people interact with each other. I was really shy as a child, which is hard to believe, right? I know, but that wasn't my natural, that wasn't a natural thing. I actually was very relational, but I was following, my grandmother, who was shy and introverted and didn't talk to other people. So she kind of taught me. There would have been a reason
why you followed her more than your mum or your father.
Yeah. Yeah. I was with her the most. So she kind of taught me how to interact with people. So, I just kind of was a copycat of that, but yet that wasn't my natural inclination. My natural inclination was to smile at everyone and wave. So, I remember patting me, no, stop, don't talk to strangers, kind of thing. So, I think it's formed, you have this natural innate, personality of relationship, but you can be trained to be a different style of, relating. And so I had to really come out of that. And so, it kind of taught me that my parents had a lot to do with how I interacted. Right. So, you're fighting against the grain, kind of,
Yep.
So anyway, we have been kind of covering different questions during this series, and I kind of gave it to all the guests. And so I'm going to bring it up now. And so you and I discussed that because we never got to 4 and 5, that we're going to address number 5, which has a typo. And what is the one thing you had to learn in your journey on how to build a successful relationship? So what do you think the answer to that is? What is your answer to that? And then I'll share what mine is.
With a success of anything, relationships, work, whatever it is that you're trying to succeed, one of the biggest things we try to avoid, but we don't seem to try to avoid it in relationships. We try to avoid it if it comes to our work or our business or a lot of other things, but there's a lot of people who do not try to avoid it. That's like they're looking for it. Is, thank you. Sorry, I'm in hotel quarantine and they've just delivered new bedding. So sorry, that was at the knock of the doors. Being afraid to stuff up.
Okay. Okay. In English terms, that means, in American terms, stuff up means what?
Afraid to make mistakes.
Okay.
But the problem is, in relationships, we make so many mistakes but we don't learn from them. And the one thing you can take away for that, if you really want the one thing to a successful relationship, is you need, and I know that everyone's going to go, oh, here he goes, he's going to go on about this again, but you can word it any way you like. You have to work on the relationship you have with yourself. You can't expect anyone
That's right.
on this planet to treat you with kindness, treat you with love, treat you with care, is there for
That's
you,
right.
doesn't, get up you if you make a mistake, is there to go, okay. I mean, you and I were discussing this about someone we know that, you've got to not beat yourself up all the time about stuff, because, you've got to go, okay, I've made this mistake, move on. But the one common denominator is you. And if you don't realize that you can learn from that and make mistakes and start to build on that relationship with yourself, you're never going to love anyone else, or you're not going to get anyone else to show you the love and care if you don't do it for you.
Right.
I can't love you if you were saying, oh, I'm crap at this, and oh, I look crap, and this doesn't work, and it's like, you don't need me or anyone else to beat you up. You are beating yourself up as it is. You got to stop that, because it's half the battle. And if someone is with
but
someone,
sometimes you do feel that way about yourself. I mean, it's okay to feel that way about yourself for a moment.
Yes, for a moment. That's the key.
For a moment, like, I mean, sometimes we feel that way about ourselves, and I'm speaking personally, is like, you feel that way because you're stressed out. You had several, negative things happen in a day. So you might feel that way for a moment, right?
Yes, but if it continues and it's always there,
yes,
it's hard for someone, let's put it this way, it's hard for someone to love another person. Say, hard for someone to love you if you're not loving you. It's like, okay, I'm doing all the love work, I'm doing all the care work, I'm doing all the support work, but you're undoing it every time that you beat the living crap out of yourself every single day. And look, if you're in a really good relationship, you will support each other. You'll have a bad day, I'll have a bad day, I'll pick you up, you'll pick me up, stuff like that. But there's a lot of times where there's one person. Actually, there's a term I don't know where I got it from. Someone told me about it a couple of years ago. It's like a bank account. You both, if you want to grow a healthy relationship and a bright future, you both are putting deposits in, and occasionally one or the other will need to take a deposit. But when one person's putting all the deposits in and the other one's taking all the deposits out, how much have you got left for your future?
Yeah, I agree.
And it's the same that when someone is trying to love someone and give them their all, but the other person's either pushing them away or they're beating themselves up all the time and they're not loving themselves. They're expecting all the love over there to come here, but no, I'm not going to give it. I want it from you. And it's like, it doesn't, it's not healthy. It's not successful, and it doesn't work. Hey, Cheryl.
Hi, Cheryl.
So it's and that's I see that, especially, look, even now relationships are in such, the relationships are just like the world is right now. It is just a mess because we've got enough stresses that we haven't dealt with within relationships, and then we've got the world in the state it's in, and people are in lockdowns, and people are not able, have lost jobs, or they're not able to, work in their offices where they're away from their partners, so they have a bit of their own time as well as the time together. And it's just, it's just all over the place.
Yeah.
So
and it's true. And unfortunately, it's kind of like there's a lot of division going on. So I've had plenty of people ask some really strange questions about me, like, where do I stand on XYZ? would be questions a couple years ago you would have never asked anybody. You wouldn't have ever
Exactly.
asked somebody that personal of a question in the beginning of, talking to someone. Like,
Yep.
you wouldn't ask them their political or religious or anything, but now it seems like that's like the first questions. It's the craziest thing. And I've noticed, people are very divided on those things that we used to think were taboo to talk about. I mean, even in our families, even in our friendships. I'm not talking about just a dating relationship. I'm talking about friendships.
Yeah.
And how we go forward in that is, you put in a pretty strict boundaries. So Cheryl's asking how. I think that you need to put a boundary up from the very beginning. Like, hey, this is something I think that we shouldn't talk about. You know, can we agree to disagree?
Mhm.
From the beginning, if you know that people are way over here or way over there,
There's
I
a
think
there's a,
those are subject matters that you shouldn't touch.
there's a
Um,
two-way there's a two-way reasoning behind that. There's a good thing about that, and there's a bad thing about that. Being upfront and asking questions that are close to your heart. So and look, I don't get how people hold it against others who they vote for, because we all know that
no,
politicians are
nah,
politicians,
nah,
and they're only faces for political parties, and they've pretty
yeah,
much all got their own agendas anyway, so it doesn't matter. But there's two things that happen by asking those deep questions. One, you're getting to the core straight away. You're getting to go, okay, I need to know if they align with my beliefs and values,
I
which is
agree with
a
that.
good thing. But on the downside, if you're going to hold against someone just because they vote a certain way, or just because they have a particular belief value that may or may not even affect your relationship, you're pretty much knocking them out of the ballpark. You might find later down the track that that person was so right for you, and 95% right for you. And it was that one little thing that in the first time you met them, you've
Right,
hit them out of the
right,
ballpark and gone, no, not interested because you voted for this person or you believe in this religion and
right,
everything else. You know, okay, religion and political views are a very strong personal belief, but
right.
that is not the core of a relationship.
Right. But
That
I mean,
makes sense?
if you feel strongly, like you're saying, I mean, I guess it does. If that matters to you that much, I guess that does make, you do know if you're not going to go forward in that relationship if they're way over on another side.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, like Cheryl said, you got to. Sometimes you got to. There are certain things you disagree respectfully, but
yes.
if the rest of the relationship you get along well, you love each other, just as much. You're there. Hey, Christina, if
Hi,
you're there for
Christina.
each other, and and everything's working, you might find.
Yes.
Okay, this is a perfect example. Um, you walk into a factory, someone tells you there's a mess in a factory, and you get to the factory and there's no power, and it's an empty factory. And you walk in and you've got a torch, and you get to the corner of the factory and there's a big pile of burnt rubbish. Someone has had something there, lit it up, and it's caught on fire and it's burnt all this stuff. And you're looking at it going, oh man, that's a mess. Jesus, that's right over here in the corner too. There's nowhere I can clean it up and everything else. I can't get anyone to move into here. Then all
Right.
of a sudden, as you walking out of the factory with your torch, because there's no power and it's at night, and you walk out, all of a sudden the power comes back on, and you've got this massive factory the size of 2 football fields, and you turn around and look, and that mess is just 1% in the corner. It's just a little pile of rubbish that's burnt, but the rest of the factory is all clean.
Right.
Now, is it as big a deal as it was when you walked in and told there's been a fire at the factory, go down, check it out, and it was just in a corner, and then all the lights come on and you realize the rest of the factory is fine, it's only one little area? Are you going to wipe that hole out just because of that little mess in the corner?
It's a Good analogy. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. No, that wouldn't make sense. So
So,
Christina says being overwhelmed in life can become more domineering obstacles in relationships. Yes, being stressed.
yeah,
Stress and life situations, they can hinder a relationship, most definitely. So um, that's why you have to keep that in balance if you can. Like,
yes,
you know, if you can. I mean, we're human and we, try to balance things, and sometimes we're not that great at it, Sometimes
yeah,
we have to default. And so we do default to our old patterns, unfortunately, sometimes
yes, yes,
when we get stressed. So
exactly.
that is a good reason to try to change those patterns. And I like what you just said. You had a shift in life goals. That's why you still haven't found the soulmate. So you shifted your life goals.
Yep.
I mean, it's always begins here, right? It always begins in us, you
We
know?
can't control other people as much as we can control ourselves and how we
Yes.
react and what we do with it and what we can do with it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
things happen to us, but we can still sort of learn from that and go, okay, what you talked about it before, putting in some strong boundaries will then go, okay, I'm not going to allow this to happen to me because it's happened. If I look back, it's happened here, 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 here. Okay, so if that is the
Yes.
case, what can I do? I can put a boundary in and say, now, from now on, I will not date someone that does this or is like this or
Right.
whatever else. And sometimes you and I know sometimes we will go, okay, let's just try that and see if that's an old boundary that isn't serving us anymore. And then you go, oh no, 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 no. That still needs to stay in place because that didn't go well. Just thought I'd test it. There we go. We'll just put that back out there. And that's
Yes.
why boundaries are big. You need to be
Yeah.
clear on your boundaries. And I'm sad to say, you have to stick to them. Hey,
Yep.
Larry.
Hi, Larry. How you doing? Good to see you. So yeah, so again, our question, I have to get back to what our question was. So let's see. Okay. So what is the one thing you had to learn in your journey on how to build I mean, it's more than one thing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we learn
But
more than
the
one thing.
main thing is you need to look after yourself and get in touch and love yourself. You don't have to be, oh, I love me. I'm so good. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. I'm so beautiful. I'm so wonderful. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. Look at me. No, but you can't sit there and go, I'm crap at relationships. I'm crap at life. I'm not very attractive. My hair's a mess. My skin's aged. I'm old. Gravity's hitting. I mean, seriously, where can
Hey,
someone go dating
hey.
someone? What? What?
I think I've said that a time or two.
Hey, I wasn't referring to you, no. I was referring to people in general. I've got a couple of clients,
I'm
same thing.
just
I'm
kidding.
I'm I'm
We can
not
be our
very good at
own
this.
we are our own worst critic, right?
Yeah.
So
But what it
we
does is it pushes
are.
a lot of people away. It pushes a lot of people away. If you get to that point where you're doing it so much, you might even realize you're doing it so much. But then you could sit there and go and ask a few people and go, be honest, what do you think? And they go, you just keep beating yourself up. You don't need someone else. It's like you need a referee to step in and go, hey, 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 time out, time out, time out, because you do it so much. And it does.
Right.
Only a little bit will start beating yourself up. You got to start to love yourself. You got to
Yeah.
start to think, you don't have to think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread, but you do need to think that you're an all right person. You've got a good heart. You look after yourself. You do the best with what you've got. If you're
That's right.
like that, then someone's going to love you. But if someone's not going to love you, if you're beating the living crap out of yourself, someone walks in and goes, hey, that person looks, oh, well, they look like they had all their stuff together, but now they slamming their head into the desk. Oh, and they've just punched themselves in the face. Oh, and they're ripping their hair out because they don't like it. and they're pointing out all their deep. Oh no, I've got to go. I'm going the other way. Sorry.
Well, I like what Christina said. Relationships thrive when you honor your commitments, keep your promises, spend quality time with each other, and share responsibilities. And
Exactly.
and I think that that goes hand in hand with serving others. So I
Yes.
like that where she's headed in that direction of talking about relationships. You know, when you're serving others, you know, and that it's not all about you, it's about the other person too, and that you're trying to kind of serve each other, right? And I like what Cheryl says, the most feared woman is the one that doesn't need validation, and that's true. That is so true. And you know, so Cheryl, I have a question about that, and I would like you to, um,
And that's
I
not
would
just
like you to,
women. That needs to be both sides, I think,
yes, yes, yes,
men
but
and women.
doesn't need validation. Do you think it's possible to never need validation, though?
Are you asking Cheryl or me?
Both of you
Well, see, the key word that Cheryl has put in there is the second last word.
need
There's a big difference between needing something and wanting
and
something.
wanting.
Do
Yeah.
you want air or do you need air to breathe to live?
Oh, well, yeah, we need it.
Yeah. Do you want food or do you need food to survive?
Need.
See, there's a big difference between need and want. So if you need validation, if you need a partner, if you need to be loved, you're needing something. You're saying that I can't live without that. I need it. That's a lot of pressure that you're putting on someone else that
Right.
you can actually provide for you.
I agree with you, Cheryl, too. Yes, I think that we want it
Yes.
because it helps to. I mean,
Yeah.
if somebody else is validating you just a little bit, I think it helps your self esteem. You know, it does help you, but it doesn't. But like she said, you don't need it if you love yourself enough. If you validate yourself enough, you don't need it. But yes, is it nice and should you do that for your partner? Yes, yes, and yes. Right?
Very right. And the other thing too is if you're going to need, if you want it, let's say want now, let's get rid of need and say we want it. You're also going to be willing to be able to do the same for your other half. And the
Right.
best thing to find out about that is learn. Again, this might sound all hancy fancy or whatever, but learn their love language because there are
Right.
some people that do want words of affirmation. They do want to feel validated. They
Right.
do want just occasionally, you've heard the line before. Can you just once say that I've done a good job? Or can you just once tell me I'm beautiful? Or can you once just tell me? It's not
Right.
just once. They would like to hear it more than once. They don't
Right.
need or want to hear it every day, but if they're not hearing it at all, they're saying for just once, can you do that for me? But at the same, so what's happened there is there's a disconnect. They're not
Right.
realizing that their other half requires something. So you and I did this like 6 months ago when we worked out love languages and stuff like that. We just discussed it. And some people feel validated by words of affirmation. Some people want quality time. Some people like gifts. What and we mean gifts as in presents, not gifts as in the GIFs that are on memes and stuff like that. So but it's understanding what they want to be from their
Right.
partner, and you should do the same for them. Not the same love language because they might have a
No,
different love language,
they're different. Yes.
but understanding that if you can understand, and you have to understand yourself. I should be able to go, Sandy, what's your love language?
Okay.
What
Well,
is it?
it changed. Like it. Okay, so this is a good discussion because I feel like they can change.
Mhm,
I think your love languages change with how
mhm.
you change and you evolve. Like
Yeah.
it used to be mine was quality time and physical touch. And then it changed to words of affirmation, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that that's where, wherever I was at in my evolving and journey, I needed more words of affirmation than I did physical touch
Yeah.
and quality time. But see, it was because the person I was with was giving me quality time. So I didn't need that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like
Yes,
like
it
if that
does.
person is giving you enough quality time, is that your love language anymore? Or and now it shifted over to where I needed more words of affirmation. So
Yeah.
I
And as
think it
you
can
know,
change.
when you do these, and you can go on, I think it's lovelanguage.com or something like that,
Yes.
lovelanguages.com or whatever, you can do a test to find out. And they ask you multiple
And it's
questions,
like
and some,
right now.
yeah.
Yes.
And you will find that they won't say you're all one thing. They will say your highest love language is, say, words
Yes.
of affirmation. And then and sometimes it'll be a combination. It'll be it's equal love, words of affirmation and quality time, or quality time and um, uh, presents, stuff like that sort of
Yeah.
thing, gifts and
Right.
stuff
Gifts
like
of
that.
service, gifts of
Yes.
gifts. Right. Right.
So, and at times, and it's like personality traits and everything, things change over time, because
They
then you
do.
might do some work on yourself and you'll go, you know what? I don't need words of affirmation. I actually want quality time, or I don't need, gifts and presents. I want, to feel loved and stuff like that. So it does change over time, and it's good
Yes.
to, probably every 3 to 5 years, just check in. But
Right.
this is all about understanding you as yourself, because if you understand yourself well enough, you don't have anything to hide from anyone else. You can just be you. And if they like what they see and hear, great. If they don't, next. Hi, how are you? Oh, you do like, thank you. Oh, because I like yours too. You look fantastic. You sound great. Excellent. And it starts to happen. But if you
So
don't understand,
what if that person doesn't know themselves?
see how you go. But if you find out if it's too much of an issue, maybe they need to go and do some work on themselves.
Right. Well, I
You're
want
not
to just
you're not
discuss
their
what
mother.
Christina said.
Yep.
Um, Strong, independent women look for an equal contributor in a relationship, not someone who seeks to rescue her or control her. And I want to say something about this before you say something about this, because only because I've studied this, I've read this, I've it,
Practiced it.
I think, and there's a book out there by this guy named John Eldridge, and it's called Wild at Heart, and it talks about the men. So I read it from the men's perspective, okay? But Christina, this is what I found, and this is just me putting it out there on what I've found. We want to feel that way, of course, because we listen to Beyonce. But anyway, um, we want that equal contributor, not someone who seeks to rescue her or control her. Now, control her, nah, I don't agree with that. Rescue her. There is I think, and this is my opinion, I'm going to ask you, Jay, if you agree with this. Men do like to help us and to not rescue us, but to help us do things. And if we take that
Me
away,
caveman, me
right, if
help
we
woman.
take that away from them, it's almost emasculating a little bit. So this is what I found is that I get to control those things that I want them to help me with, right? By putting those proper boundaries up and saying, okay, I don't need you to rescue me in this codependent way, but I do need you to help me in this way. And so it is kind of rescuing me. Like if my car breaks down, I do want my partner to come and help me. I do want them to come and rescue me, right? So I do. So I don't know. How do you feel about that, Christina? But what do you think, Jay?
No, I totally agree. And it's now, I see that there's a turn of that changing with men, because it is the old, as I say, the old caveman, me caveman, collect food, bring home for woman, make love to woman. Yes, I have to protect, and it is becoming to a point where it used to be the man was the, as they classed in the old school, breadwinner, go out, work, bring money in, wife stay home,
Right.
cook, clean, do the, in the 60s and 70s and stuff. It's not
Right.
like that anymore, because it's now turning, because there's the, I think this part Me Too area where, and women standing up to be equal as men. And even if you take that all away, there's a lot of women who want their own independence to go and earn their own money and do their own thing, and don't feel they need another person. And I'm not saying man, but another person to rescue them. If there is, their prince is there to help them when their car breaks down, great. But I know there's so many people out there. It's like, it's nice to have, but I can survive on my own. But if someone were to come along and also be there for me and do that, it's an added bonus. Now, there are some people and some women that have been doing this for a long while, that when a guy comes into their life and he might do something like, hey, I don't need you to do it. And it's like, whoa, hang on a sec. So, okay, you need to learn then. Okay, she doesn't need you to do it. I'm like, hey, I didn't think she needed. I was just doing it. It's like me. I'm still a little bit old school, that I won't necessarily rescue people. I did that in my younger years and just it didn't go well. I realized that I will still open a door for someone. Where I was doing some work a little while ago, we'd get to the car, the three of us would carpool. And one of the girls I was working with, I would open the door for her to get in the front seat. I'd get in the back seat, sort of thing. And the other guy was driving, and, get in. And I used to do it because I drove limousines as well. And I did that because I opened doors for people. But I don't open doors for people because I don't think you can. If it's a guy walking past, I'll open the door for him. If it's a girl, there's no, I'm doing it to impress you. It's just what I do. I say please and thank you. If I see you need a hand with something, I'll do it. And if you go, no, I've got this. Okay, that's cool. I'm not going to take, it's not going to take my masculinity away from me.
Right. A lot of women don't even want you to open the door for them. Yeah.
Exactly. I have seen where a guy's opened the door and the woman's gone, I don't need you to open the door for me. And it's like, okay, that was a little too much. He wasn't doing it to try and win you over. He was walking through. He knew there was someone behind him. He held the door open so they could catch up and they didn't have to open it. It was just a polite thing. So we've got to get clear on, is the person doing it because you're a woman, or is they doing it because that's the type of person they do for anyone?
Right.
It's just a habit. If you're walking along, I open a door and I walk through and I know that someone coming past. I've done it for guys, I've done it for girls, I've done it for children. It's not getting me brownie points or anything else. I do it because that's in my nature. And when you start to attack someone, though, about that, you've got to ask yourself, one, what reason was that person doing it for you? Because there's women that have done it for me. I've walked up and a woman's held the door up and I'm, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I like with Tina. I mean, Tina, she said that she would never let a man change her oil because she already, I mean, I was just using the car thing, as a rescue point, I guess you'd say, like my car broke down. I don't know how to fix it. I'm going to let somebody come and, pick me up. I'll call AAA to get it towed away. But anyway, but I agree with Tina. Also, I've been in a relationship where they did something for you, and it's because they wanted the accolades for forever.
Now there's a difference between those accolades, as you said before, words of affirmation. So if you just, and being validated, if they do it because just occasionally they are just reaching out for a little bit of, oh, thank you, I appreciated you doing that. That was nice. As long as it's that. And as Tina said, it's not like, remember back in 1986 on January 20, I opened the door for you. Then I put the seatbelt on you. Then I shut the door. And then I got the driver to drive you to your house. And then I drove to the house, opened the door and helped you walk in the house. Do you remember that? Because I'm still waiting for you to repay me for that. That you got to let go of. That's just.
Yes, that's too much.
Stop
Right.
doing it to earn brownie points. Do it because you want to do
Right.
it. Don't do it because you want something back. If you're
Right.
saying, and now here's a big one that sometimes upset people when I say this. If I say I love you, if you say you love someone, do not say it because you want them to say it straight back to you.
Right.
If you're saying I love you because I want you to say I love you back, are
Right.
you really saying I love you in the first place? Think about that when you say, is it you're looking at them and you go, God, I love you. If you're saying because that's how you feel, great. But if you're saying it and they don't say it back, or you're saying it because you want them to say it back, you're doing it only for the sake of asking them, do they still love you? Not because you love them.
Ah, that's a good
Think
point.
about that,
So Monty says,
honey.
just because you're capable doesn't mean you have to. Right.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right. And people should do things for other people because they want to. They want to
Exactly.
do it, not because they have to do it, because it's their duty to do it. You know, I think in a marriage, though, there are some instances where that there's a have to help each other with certain things, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
I've had a client recently who says that, she says, I work and because her partner doesn't work in the same field and same hours and has a very odd job sort of thing, but they're tired, and there are times where she works full hours and then comes home and feels guilty, so she takes the pup for a walk and she'll cook dinner and everything else, and he'll say that I work nights and I've been tired all day, and she says to me, well, I'm freaking tired too, but I need to get it done. I'm not going to let poor pup sit at home. And I said to her, you now need to start to have that conversation, and it's come up before and it needs to come up again, where you need to discuss what you want him to do to help support you. Because when he was working full time and earning more hours than that, and she wasn't, she
right,
supported him. So
right,
now the tables are turned. As a married couple, or as a couple that have been together a long time, doesn't have to be married. It's a teamwork. So don't be afraid to say, babe, I'm now working my butt off, and I know that you work odd jobs and stuff like that, but it's only half an hour. Could you please just every day take the pup for a walk, or
right.
just go and pick up, I'll order the groceries, can you just go and pick them up at
Yes,
this time? Or can you just make sure that the slow cooker is on, so when I get home I can pull the meals out, have my meal, put yours on a plate so you can heat it up later. Just work as a team. If you're
right.
going to be in a relationship with someone, don't be afraid to do those, as you said, doesn't have to be all the time, those team things, because
Yes.
we're having to do that ourselves when we're single. We have to do our own washing, make our own bed, shave, shower,
Yep.
shampoo, whatever else. At the same time, when they come along, it's an added bonus. But if you're going to work at a team, you are working towards, and as I said this to a client yesterday, what is it you want to achieve in 3 years' time or 5 years' time? And what do you want to achieve as a couple? Because that is going to help the anxiety that you're going through right now with your stresses on what to do work-wise and stuff.
Right.
Can you achieve it if you make this decision? Can you achieve it if you make that decision? What do you want to achieve as a couple for 3 years' time, 5 years' time? And you then should sit down and go, and don't say, I need to talk later on. Just if you're in the car driving, and just say, look, I've been thinking about things, and this is what I see I'd like to achieve in the next 3 to 5 years. What do you think? Do you have any ideas, or do you like that, or whatever? And then start to understand, okay, if we're going to do this, when I'm working full time and you're not, I'd like you to support me. And then when you are,
That's
I
right.
support you, and we work as a team, because we're
Right.
not going to do it ourselves.
Right.
Or I'm not going to be, putting all the money in the account and you taking all the money out, as we said before, because it's not going to work.
No. No. It's definitely give and take. So,
Yeah.
so Christina, don't ever imply that self-sufficiency, fire, and determination make her a woman less deserving of warm, thoughtful, intentional, unapologetic devotion. We need that. I think, and that's what I was kind of getting to earlier when I said, I read the book. Men have certain things that they bring to the table that are just like nature, like natural inclinations for them, as do we as women, because of our nurturing nature. We kind of need that, unapologetic, like she says, devotion. And we do need that in return. But I think it's always a give and take. I think, men like to be nurtured and women like to be nurtured. And, but like you're saying, communication and putting it out there on what you need is important. If you just let it just keep rolling and you never say what you need, and the next thing you know, they're not meeting, and Cheryl says it, what are the expectations? They're not meeting your expectations. Well, maybe you didn't set any, or maybe you didn't even talk about it. And I think that in my personal opinion, is that we always put too many expectations on others. And then that's where the unmet expectations come from.
Exactly.
So because we didn't talk about it though, and we forget that we didn't talk about it. And then
that's
when the whole blame thing comes in, like, well, you didn't meet XYZ. And then the other person says, well, you never told me about it. I didn't even know.
My mind reading abilities are not working right now.
Right.
Sorry, I've lost.
I don't have the crystal ball. Where's the crystal ball?
Stop hinting. Stop hinting. No hints.
Oh yeah, you and the don't hint. But the reason people hint is because they're afraid of the consequence of what they're going to say, how it's going to be received, and what they're going to get back. Because the worst thing that people want to get is rejection, right? So say, hey, I really need you to XYZ, and then you say, well, I really can't do that, blah, blah, blah. That feels like a rejection, right?
But the same thing though. You hint to someone, they don't get the hint, you then get upset and feel unvalidated because they didn't get the hint, but you don't want to say it because you don't want to feel rejection. But what's the difference?
Very good point. There you are.
So if you say, I want you to put this in the bin, instead of going, this smells and it's off, we need to do something with it. What do you think we should do? I'll just leave it here on the bench for you. And then you get home that night and it smells even more and it's still sitting on the bench. And there's another argument.
Okay. So that kind of goes into, well, in prior relationships experiences, the honey-do list really didn't work out. So, say you're very clear, but now it feels like too much pressure for that partner. Like, especially if you're making a list, okay? You're making a list that's like, hi, while you're home, why don't here on the refrigerator?
Here, I've got a list of 20 things. Yes. I need these all ticked off by 5:30 this afternoon when I get home. Have a nice day, love. Bye-bye.
Yeah. That's being clear. There's no hints there.
No, but there's also a tactful way to do it.
Okay, which is?
Well, don't do a list. Let's start at one thing.
So Monty, if you're still on, what do you think about lists?
Yes.
Yeah, some people don't like, but it depends on your personality. Some personality types do like lists, like, to check off, like.
No, exactly right. But I mean,
and some people that are flow like me, maybe we don't like lists.
Yeah, they get a list and they just scrunch it up and go, stick your list in your.
Okay, he's just got dots, so I don't know what he said.
He hasn't been listed.
List? Question mark. That's the answer. Okay, I already know the answer to that then. Yes. The honey-do list. The honey-do list. That's what I call it.
You have to explain the honey-do list because I've only heard that once, and I think it was
The
you that said
honey-do
it.
list is the woman that needs you to, mow the grass, do all the different chores that have been maybe neglected throughout some days, and
Okay.
there it's really kind of bugging them, so they write down a list. Now I've never done it. I'm just gonna be honest. I've never done a honey-do list. I'm not a list
I was
girl.
going to say you sound very caught up and very thorough on the honey-do list. I'm just wondering, is that something? And look, the key word there you just said before is chores. What's the first thing you think of when someone says
Oh,
the
it's
word
horrible to
chores?
think about chores.
Exactly. It sounds
So
like you're a kid and you need to do it before you get your pocket
your
money.
chores need to be done before
Yes.
this.
So if
Well, believe
someone
me,
came up to you and said, "Here, I've got a list of chores for you to do
right.
over the next month," what are you going to say to that?
Well, I'm just going to use that. Okay. Cheryl's making me laugh. Monty is avoiding that question.
What is
I
the
think he
question?
is. But
Exactly.
any married couples I've known in the past that where there was a honey-do list and the chores and all that was the guy that had the man cave. Usually in that setup, the guy always had a man cave. Like seriously. And then you understood why. I mean,
Yeah.
totally understood. He needs a separate time because his wife is like really woo. Like I used to sit there and scratch my head and going, how do I get my husband to do that? Like, what did she do to set that up? But he needed an escape. He needed the man cave.
Yes.
But that's what I've seen in the past as representation of
Honey,
that.
can you do the mowing? I can't,
Exactly.
love. I'm in the man cave. When I'm in the man cave, I can't
Exactly.
do it.
I think it's important. And I think it's important that men and women have their separate times apart in
Oh,
a
yes. A
relationship. I think it's
huge.
important that they are very clear. I mean, I always loved that because I did see my friends who had that scenario. The woman was very uh giving of going, "Oh, I can't wait to set up his man cave for it." Like, she would be helping him, especially to buy all the signs for it. So,
But with everything, you can have a man cave. Doesn't mean that you need to be in the man cave every evening after work and every time. You've got to have a level. And the thing is too,
yeah.
if you've got it there all the time, it takes the impact away of what the man cave does, or the woman cave,
The woman
or
cave. That's what I
whatever
said.
you
Oh, well,
want to
this
call
she
it.
shed. Have you ever seen
The
that
she shed.
commercial?
There you go. The she
She,
shed or the man cave.
she
She shed,
shed.
he shed, she shed, she shed,
So
he
she
shed
shed.
in the she shed.
So she
But anyway,
shed.
yeah.
So anyway, I don't know how we got on that whole trail. Oh my goodness.
We
So
still haven't got
oh
to
oh here's
question four.
Christina. Yeah, and that's what I was thinking.
Yes. I, yes.
That's what I was thinking,
There
but
we
I
go.
didn't say it.
No, say it. This is don't hold back not saying stuff because this is stuff like you're not a child anymore. So if you want them to do a chore or something on a list or need something to do, find out what their
Yeah.
currency is. We say and psychologists will use this with children. They'll say, find out what your son or daughter's currency is. It mightn't always be money. It might be technology time. It might be play time with their friends. It might be time out in the park hitting the ball around or kicking the ball
Right.
around or something like that. So it's the same as adults.
Yeah.
We are still kids. Find out what your partner's
So
currency
you
is.
think that that's healthy to make sex a reward?
It doesn't have to be sex. It could be anything. It might be a night out with the boys. It might be sexy time. It might be, he
Sexy,
might come
sweet
in after
rewards.
mowing the lawn.
I don't
He
know.
might come in from the mow on the lawn, and you might be so impressed that he's all hot and sweaty out there, getting all hot. Oh, Jesus, it's getting me. Okay. And just ravage him, and to be like, man, I'm going to mow the freaking lawn more often. The lawn's going to get mowed every damn
No,
weekend.
right,
You know,
right. No, I agree with that. I mean, I
so
agree with
it
that.
doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
And no one, they talk about Motivation.
Oh, here we go.
Yes, because you guys didn't get onto the sex talk the other week.
Yeah,
So.
that's what I said. We didn't get to the sex part
No.
last week.
And
And
we still haven't
again,
even,
we're
we've
down
got
to
5 minutes
5
left and haven't
minutes.
done question 4. So
See, 5 again, we didn't get to question 4.
that's another episode.
Oh my gosh, my episodes are getting longer and longer. We're not, I think people do want to talk about sex though.
Yes.
And
Let's talk about sex,
I think
baby. Let's talk about you
that's right.
and me. Let's talk
Right.
about all the good things. And sorry.
That
Every time
made
I
me
hear that, that's all. I go into
let's
the
talk
song.
about
Sorry.
sex. Yes. I think sex is important in a relationship. And I certainly have heard, and I have a couple clients. I have a male client that I talk to. Listen to Monty. I told you that we needed to talk about sex last week. You guys didn't believe me. So yeah. So what happens is that and I'm going to discuss this on my next episode, on episode 5 with Gudrun. She's coming on Sunday, and we're talking about body image and how it affects your relationships. So women, and I'm not stereotyping, but women seem to have more body image issues a lot when it comes to sex. Okay. Women do seem to be the ones that, I mean, they're the ones that say yes or no, right? I mean, a lot of the time. And if they're having a body image issue, they're going to say no more often. So
I'm gonna give you something you can use for next week.
okay.
I've had 2 clients in the past, female clients. One, she never let her husband of 15 years see her without makeup because she didn't find it. So she would get up 20 minutes early or 15 minutes early before him, put her makeup on. And when they went to bed, they had like those really dark curtains. So she'd go and clean up. He'd be in bed. She'd wait till he's snoring, and then she'd go and go to bed. Even though he would have rolled over and seen her, she just is always put makeup on. And the second one, I had a client years and years ago she did not like the look of her body that much, that when she went to have a shower, when you walk in, so think of a rectangular room, the door's at one end, and if you stuck your head in the door and looked to the right, you'd see the mirror. She would get undressed in the hallway, lean in with her right arm to turn the shower on. Or before she got dressed, she'd turn the shower on, open the door with her back to the mirror, step out, get undressed in the hallway, jump in the shower with her back to the mirror, get the towel, get out, because she never liked, and she did that for about 6 or 7 years until I worked with her, and we did a couple of exercises, and now she's happy with her in her own skin. But that's scary. So there's a couple of things you know as examples you can use.
That's right.
And that's only 2 of hundreds I've heard.
Right. But when we were talking about validation earlier, and we were talking about that kind of thing, those are the areas that sometimes, if depending on what a woman thinks about their body and their body image, the problem is, and I know this to be true because it's in my wheelhouse, is that I used to not believe it. Like if I was in a non-trusting way and not trusting a person's words, even if they were trying to validate me in that way, if I didn't feel that way about myself, it didn't matter what they said. Like it didn't matter. They could have told me I was beautiful, that I had the best, whatever. I wouldn't believe them because I didn't believe it myself. So when you don't believe it yourself, it's hard for you to absorb it from someone else and to believe them when they say.
That goes back to what we discussed at the start of this stream about loving yourself. You don't have to say, I've got the best boobs or the best butt or the best hair. But when you are so ashamed or so, and I'm going to use the words that women have said to me in sessions, disgusted, hate, can't stand the sight of, don't like the look of, will never look at it, will never wear a particular part of clothing to show that or anything else.
Right.
When you're like that, it is hard for you to be in a happy relationship because you're already punching the living crap out of yourself.
Of yourself.
And you're expecting someone else to love you when it's like, I'm standing here and I want to give you a hug, but you're in the ring while I'm on the outside of the ring and you're beating the living crap out of yourself. I can't get in and give you a hug or love or support.
Right.
I'm cheering you on, but that's as much as I can do, because if I get too close, then I'm going to get hit and hurt.
Great analogy. They were in the audience. You had to stay in the audience.
Yeah. And that's not how a relationship should be.
That's right. And Monty thinks he got jibs. Is that a PC term? But anyway, we won't go there.
I think he wants to come back. I think he wants to. He's dying. See, right Monty, now.
I invited you.
He's dying to jump in right now. Look at him. He's like, I so want to get in there right now.
So that even goes into another subject of a woman who is divorced, has had children, and feels that kind of way about their body. Because you've had children, you have a children body. And like right now, the big term is dad bod. Like, you guys have these dad bods, whatever that means.
And that was created by women. Women were saying that.
Yeah, a dad bod.
So now which is we need to go, we want a mum bod. Where's a mum bod? Get a mum bod.
That's what I'm saying. So if you guys are allowed to have a dad bod, we're allowed to have a mom bod, right?
Have a mom bod.
But my question to you then, does it matter? Like if you're in the midst of passion, does it matter what the bodies look like? I don't think so. That's just my opinion.
You ask two people in the middle of passion, and they will go, shut up, not now. I'm enjoying it.
Right. Do I even know what she looked like? Not really. Right? I mean, like.
Depends if the lights are on or not.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Now, that's what I'm saying. Like, does that matter in the middle of the passion thing, in a relationship? Like in the beginning, you're so self-conscious about everything you say and you do, like in the beginning of any beginning of relationships, right? But like the sex part can be very challenging. And like I said, I have a client who is having an issue because their girl doesn't like herself. She doesn't like her body. She doesn't like, and so
no
she's
matter
not
what he says. He's not.
I know, and that's what I've had to share. It's like, listen, you could give tell them they're the most beautiful woman they've ever seen and love and whatever, but if they don't feel that way about themselves, I don't know how you're going to overcome that.
She's in the ring beating the living crap out of herself right now, and you're just standing on the outside of the ring going, "I love you. You look good. Shut up, not now."
Yeah, exactly. It's a hard thing. It's a hard thing. But that is what I'll be talking about next week with Gudrun and
Marnie.
Poor Monty. Sorry, Monty.
I think he wants to be in next week, I think.
Sorry, Monty. We're talking about sex. Well, we didn't talk about sex too much. We didn't go there.
Just the tip.
Hey! Okay, on that note, it's 7:32. And so now we will be ending this episode. And we didn't even get to all the questions again. So now you know why I have 5 episodes. So
5 episodes? No, you're going to have about 12 because.
Oh, look at him. Red face. Oh, no.
You got sex next week, and then you got question 4 the week after, if you get to question 4.
I don't know if I'll ever get to question 4. Question 4 has escaped me now.
Well, I said let's go to question 5 and go backwards. And we started at 5, and that's as far as we got.
That's because we had great audience interaction. You guys rock. We love you guys. You know that. Our Lita peeps in the house. Love you. So
and the non-leader peeps as well. There's a few non-leader peeps as well. So
that's right. There's my Grow Live Academy peeps too. So yeah. So thank you guys. Stream bait. What is that? Stream bait.
Because we're baiting them in for the next episode and the one after.
We are. We're gonna.
So in the next 2 episodes, you've got Gudrun and you've also got Money K in the house.
I know. I think I had him on last week, but we were right. We didn't talk about that. So
he wants to come back. He's screaming.
Money, we're going to have you on. Are you going to come back with him?
I'll come back whenever you need. Yeah, for sure.
What about you, Cheryl? I got to get Cheryl in on this. She can give her perspective in the
There you
married
go.
relationship.
There we go. A four-way, the four of us in.
Oh, and Christina too.
Well, let's
She's
just have
bringing
like
sexy back. I'm bringing sexy back. That's great. That's what we're going to call that episode. Okay,
well, see,
that's episode number 6. So
Christina
sign
could
up
talk
now.
about sex. Christina could talk about sex because she could talk about the lack of sleep and how it affects your performance.
How do you balance the sex life and the sleeping life? Aha.
Yes.
It's a good
Do you get a bit of
question.
sleep and then wake up in the middle of the night, have sex, and then go back to sleep? Do you do it before you go to sleep? Do you do it when you wake up in the morning? Do you go home for lunch for it? There's so many things you could discuss about it.
Oh my gosh.
I know that there's 3 episodes in itself, you know.
Holy cow. Now my episode number 6 is sex.
6 is sex, is it? Or sex is 6?
Episode 6 is about sex. Sex and sleep. All right. I'm having y'all on. All right. Look for your DM. I'm sending you a message in your DMs. So, all right. Thank you, Jason, for coming on tonight and talking about relationships. And I didn't zing you like I was going to, but oh well. It's okay. I'll do it next time. And so anyway, next week, episode number 5, we're talking about body image. Please tune in.
Isn't it?
Huh?
Isn't it 6?
No, next episode is number 5.
Oh, okay.
Yes, with Gudrun about body image. So if you want to join in on that conversation, please do. If you want to share it out, because there's a lot of women and men, not just women, men too, that have body image issues and how it affects their relationships with their partners or their relationships with everyone. Because I'll tell you, my body image issue affected my children. So it's a whole nother conversation. Yes.
That's episode 9.
That's episode 5. but tune in for episode 6, which is about sex. Anyway, so, all right. Thanks for coming on. And I love you all.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you, Jason. I appreciate it. And you all take care and have a wonderful Monday evening. Peace. Come on, Jason.
Peace
out.